of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Plus tax and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. At JT's Jeep Ram, the savings are already built in. You can see for yourself online the deep discounts we offer on new Wranglers, Grand Cherokees, Rams, and more. No guessing or games, just real savings. Clearly displayed on our website. And if you've got a trade, JT is offering up to 25% more for it. JT's Jeep Ram, 378 Lexington or Greystone Boulevard. JT'sJeep.com or JT'sRam.com. Declaration of Deal Sales Event.
If you are looking for a local, reliable, and family-owned HVAC service right here in the Midlands, you can trust our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating since 1983. They've been taking care of residents and businesses right here in the Midlands. Krantz Cooling, that's Krantz, cooling with a K, KrantzCooling.com or 803-672-3224. You can schedule a visit online and get more information at KrantzCooling.com.
My name is Amar Gajar. I'm Chair of Pediatric Medicine at St. Jude.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT, Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. What a catch! The Early Game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network and streaming on the 107.5 The Game app. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
For the sixth year in a row, the South Carolina Gamecocks are dancing to the Final Four.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix. Pack your bags.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Good morning, Early Game crew. What a day here on the Early Game. Oh my goodness. I'm live in Phoenix, Arizona, where it is 3 a.m. local time, as you just heard on that little piece of imaging right there. I'll be hanging out here until Monday, covering the South Carolina women's basketball team in the Final Four. I mean, Preston is over at Charwood for our annual golf event. We have a lot going on today. I don't know if we've ever had this much separation between us and studio, Preston Thorne. I don't think that's ever happened here.
We have the wonders of technology working hard right now. I mean, if you would have told somebody that we're doing this radio show from 3 different locations with plugins and cameras and tripods, links, all types of things being sent around, but I think we're getting it done.
We are absolutely. So, I mean, I know you may look at the stream right now and you're like, Elijah, you could just be in any room right now. Well, it's very dark outside, so you can't see the cacti just outside the window here. But we finally made it. We made it. We were just asked on the YouTube stream too if Preston is the honorary driver to start the tournament. Preston, do you have the John Daly grip it and rip it game to make yourself the honorary driver to start this thing?
I'll say it looks very good on camera. That's what I can say.
It'd be better than mine. I think, you know how Michael Jordan said, the ceiling is the roof. Whatever the inverse of that would be my
As long as they keep the camera on me and don't follow the flight of the ball, it works very well.
Beautiful looking swing. A whole lot to get into, and we'll certainly get into the big matchup tonight between South Carolina and UConn. Again, that's why I spent an entire day in the air on an airplane to be on multiple airplanes to be able to get here in Phoenix. But this wasn't planned, right? That's one of the best parts about this entire gig, right? That this wasn't planned when I was sitting and waiting for my first flight at the Charlotte airport, and I was putting the grid together, and I wasn't expecting to lead off the show with this. But again, that's what makes the gig so fun sometimes. Because when I landed, now had some delays in flights, so it did end up being a little later when I got here. When I landed, the first opportunity I had to look at the score was when South Carolina and Texas were in the 3rd inning. And you should have seen the look on my face when I saw that South Carolina was leading the number 2 Texas Longhorns 6-1. And we monitored it through there. We hung in through there. And I'm like, well, we'll see. There'll be a couple instances where, you're going to have to keep Texas off the scoreboard. You're going to have to get out of some jams, right? This team is not number 2 in the country on accident. So you get a couple of situations in the game where, there's runners in the corners, 2 outs. Zach Russell comes into the game, gets you out of a jam. You add 3 more runs. And if you're good at math, then you would know that South Carolina wins 9-1 over the number 2 team in college baseball. Preston Thorne. There are so many ways to go with this game. And I know it's been a lost season. Anytime you have to fire the head coach at any point during a season, I think that considers it a lost season. But when you have a moment like that, where you go out against, again, a top 5 opponent, top 2, if we want to get really technical here, a team that I think has one of the best shots at winning the national championship. We just had our man Mitch Light on from The Athletic last week, and he was talking some more big picture college baseball stuff. And he was saying Texas is probably the best team in the country right now. And you not only win, you win by 8 runs. You get 11 hits. You only leave 3 runners on base. Your pitching was phenomenal throughout the night. 12 strikeouts, only 3 walks, only 1 hit batter. So you don't give up a lot of free 90s. Oh, yeah, your original closer started the game, almost got you 4 innings into the game, so you didn't have to do the whole opener thing. Shout out Tampa Bay Rays. And then Alex Philpott comes in with a 9-out save, does not give up a single hit or a walk, and is getting swinging strikeouts at the end of the game. Oh, and Patrick Evans looked like Mike Trout for a little bit. Just an absolutely remarkable highlight of the season that we were just gifted last night by this baseball team. That was, even in a year that's as tough as this one's been, Preston Thorne, that rocked.
Absolutely. And that's what has the potential to happen in that stadium, because even though it was sparsely attended, more people are showing up, but you could feel the energy start to build up in the stadium as you were watching the game. And I always tell you, Elijah, it happens. What happens on national TV, even though it counts the same in the record book, it means more. So just because it was on SEC, the main SEC network, you can just flip there without having to go to streaming or in ESPN Plus. It was just right there on TV. I imagine a lot of people in the country who are baseball fans were like, "Wait, what? What's happening here?" And so, yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool to see. And same like you, I wasn't watching the game initially. However, as I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I see things happening, I immediately go to the game, and then I'm locked in for the rest of the game. So, yeah, it was a very, very cool, pleasant surprise. But Monty has given us a blueprint, and if we just go by the blueprint, you could see why they win. It according to the pillars that they laid out, it happens again.
Yeah, there's some really good proof of concept, right? And I plate approach is one thing, but you can have a great plate approach, but if you're not able to put that bat on that ball, it only does so much. And last night you saw a lot of bat on ball, right? You saw making great contact. You go through that entire game and you strike out only once an inning. And there have been some games where you struck out way more than that, right? It is really cool to see this team take advantage of the opportunities they got in this game, because even in the last 2 years, Preston Thorne, let's take it Paul Mainieri era. How frequently has the term leaving runners on base come up within the kind of just the realm of the conversation? Way too easy, way too frequently, right? There are so many games this year and last year where we talk about you had opportunities at the plate with runners in scoring position, we just couldn't get them through. And that wasn't the case last night. You only leave 3 runners on base. They got on base last night. Your batting lineup was able to bring them home. And it wasn't just, 1 or 2 guys in the lineup that were, hitting well. I mean, it was a pretty great team effort. Like Patrick Evans had the monster night, 3 for 4, a home run, a triple. Being only a double away from the cycle is a pretty impressive feat against that team. And then knocking in 4 RBI. That from your leadoff hitter is pretty good. That's going to set you up really well. And Will Craddock still on a heater Talmadge LeCroy puts the finishing touches on the game with a solo shot straight to my boy TK Sam out there in deep center. If you give my man TK Sam a souvenir, then you've made a play of the year. And Talmadge LeCroy tried his best to give Sam a gift from home plate to deep center.
Very cool. Yeah, I definitely did the Leonardo DiCaprio deal, and what I saw was, I know that guy. That's
the
my
Leonardo
guy.
DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, snapping the fingers, pointing on TV. That's Sam. That's my dude.
I was looking at him. By the way, maybe the most fun at bat of the year. I don't know. It's an early contender because he hit 2 home runs in that at bat before they continued to throw the ball to him. And I don't know exactly what Texas was thinking there, because when a dude goes yard twice, foul, one was barely foul. I may have liked some ABS on that one. Nobody made a big stink in the stadium, so I guess it was cool. But on TV, I was like, that's. But anyway,
looked fair to me.
He goes twice yard. He hits the ball very hard 2 times. I think I would have been very cautious after that, but they were not. They challenged him, and he promptly took them yard. Elijah, listen, if you're Texas, you're just like, hey man, baseball's a weird sport. We're gonna brush this off. We'll come back in. We'll finish the series. But if you're South Carolina, maybe this is something that you build on. Maybe this is something that you take home, and because listening to Monty after the game, they had a very disciplined approach, and they seemed to execute the game plan as well as they laid it out. And so maybe this is something that starts something.
Well, this is a gift for Monty, because he can just say, look, this is the proof of concept, right? That, like, a game like this is important because it is a proof of concept game. Now, our favorite saying on this show that your goals are all in front of you. Are your goals all in front of you? Hard to say. I mean, when you're still at 500, or hovering around 500 in the middle of the year, it's hard. I haven't seen any bracket projections. It would take a lot, right? But
you can still technically say it.
Yes, you can still technically say it. But the remarkable thing about this too for Monty is he just gets to say, "Hey, look, guys, if you could beat the number 2 team in the country in Texas." And you not just beat them, but you wear them out. You wore them out last night. If you could do that to them, there's nobody in the SEC that you can't beat. Like that's the mental edge that this gives you, is that yes, the season's been a struggle. Yes, there have been some incredible lowlights, but what have you done for me lately? Lately, you guys just proved to me that you could beat the number 2 team in the country. That's exciting, right? I mean, with all that you have left to play, on this schedule, you've already played Georgia. You got swept by Georgia, but maybe you learned some lessons there. You play the number 2 team in the country and you beat them at home. Now there's 2 more games left in the series. So still quick turnaround, right? A quick mental turnaround to kind of reset. But mentally, this has to do wonders for the guys in that clubhouse, I can imagine. Because if you can beat this team, there's nobody in the country that you can't beat in theory.
Well, the thing is, Elijah, like you said, the proof of concept is the idea that, coaches can preach and coaches can teach and coaches can espouse all of the things that they believe in. But as a player, it kind of starts to sound like the Charlie Brown teacher when you're losing. It's just want, big inning, want, free 90, want. I don't, because I'm losing. And so I can't really hear what you're saying, even though you might be saying the exact thing that I need to hear. But when you get a win, especially against this guy, against this pitcher, against this team, you start to think, oh, maybe there might be something to this. And that
I think we have lost Preston. Maybe some technical difficulties.
I think we did. Oh my goodness.
Preston's making a point too. I'm watching Preston. I get mesmerized. I'm like, oh, Preston's on a roll right now. This is great. He's on a roll. Oh man. But I mean, what the proof of concept does is exactly help. What it does is exactly help you be able to navigate the rest of an incredibly difficult season. I mean, you can look at the schedule right now, and you have Texas at home, College Charleston midweek. Missouri, historically the punching bag of the conference after this. in a weekend series. Your next weekend series after that is another home series against a top 5 opponent with Mississippi State. Like, it's good. There are going to be some hard games in there. And then a Kentucky team later this month. And then you start off May going at LSU. Like, there's plenty of really good competition left and plenty of opportunities for more highlights. I think what last night did, again, not going to be the total elixir for what has happened this season, but what it does is give you even just the slightest moment of relief. And I think for this team, it is so much needed for this program, right? We talked so many times about how proud this program is of its baseball team and how proud the school is of its baseball team, the fan base, how much they cherish this baseball program. And to experience the last couple of years that you has been very, very hard to see for this fan base. To get something like that last night was certainly remarkable. And we'll carry over this discussion throughout the course of the show. But coming up next, the reason that I'm sitting here doing this show in Phoenix, Arizona, is because the Final Four is tonight. We talked about the road to the Final Four all month leading up to this. There is no more road. There is only destination. So we're going to take our first look, if you will, because we have a whole 3-hour show today. That's the best part of the show is we're going for up until 9 o'clock, baby. But we're going to take our first look at this South Carolina-UConn matchup and talk about maybe what edge does South Carolina have in this game and how can they pull this off? Preston and I will discuss that coming up next here in the early game.
My sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Go to 1075thegame.com and check out our sweet deals, like $50 worth of great eats from Grill Marks for just $25 and a 6-month membership to the YMCA for half price. It's all at 1075thegame.com. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Hey, are you looking at doing some updates in your house? Maybe even wanting to build an outdoor kitchen? Well, I'll tell you what, Carolina Stone Craftsman in Chapin is the place to go. They have countertops and stone to complete your summer space. They can also help you with any indoor projects. They have been serving the Columbia area for over 2 decades. That means they know the product, they know the market, and they know their customers. And they're locally owned, which means you are dealing with the owners directly, not sales reps. You're not dealing with a call center. You are working with the owners. We redid a couple of bathrooms, needed some countertops, and I'm telling you, every step of the process was great. You pick out the stone, they cut it, they shape it, and they install it. So if you have indoor or outdoor projects coming up for your home, reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman in Chapin, 803-408-3456. And of course, tell them Jen sent you. Carolina Stone Craftsman, beyond Columbia in Chapin, and definitely beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. No accidents to report at this time. Wonderful news. Hope it's a little more calm this morning than yesterday. Could see a scattered shower today, especially later this afternoon. 81 for the high. And then 83 tomorrow with some afternoon or evening showers. Same for Sunday, the high of about 78. Right now, pretty nice. 62 on 107.5 The Game.
The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
Gives it off to Tessa, right wing three, bang! Three-pointer, Tessa Johnson.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix. Pack your bags.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
That is right. We are live in multiple locations. Again, if you missed the start of the show, I am here in Phoenix, Arizona for the Final Four. As you just heard right there, that coverage brought to you by Griffin Pools and Spas and Forest Lake Travel. Shout out Daisy Miller at Forest Lake Travel. I'm telling you, I'm not really good at coordinating air travel at all. And mostly because I never account for margin for error, and that if there's any type of delay in flight, and I have connections, I usually mess that up. But there were delays yesterday, and I still got here because Daisy takes it into account. She's the best. Forest Lake Travel is the best. And, of course, Griffin Pools and Spas, they make you feel good for a reason. But I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona. My man Preston Thorne is at Charwood for the Game Golf event. And then, of course, Jen is back at the home studios in Columbia, South Carolina. We are everywhere.
I'm assuming he could not hear the fabulous music bed behind him.
Oh, I heard it. Oh, he could not hear it. I heard it.
I couldn't hear it.
Elijah heard it. Yeah, it was solid.
What did we get? What were we?
Glenn Campbell. By the time I get to Phoenix,
I thought about texting you that yesterday. It's like, oh, it just like popped in my head. Great tune, great song. Also,
I have to figure out how I can pipe things into you so you can hear the music beds.
I will say great tune, but it's number 2 on my Glenn Campbell list because Wichita Lineman.
Yes, same.
Aaron loves
Absolutely
that too.
same. Great song.
And I think his is the best version, but that's not where we are. But that's one of my favorite joints.
I have the same ranking there. Wichita Lineman, my go-to Glenn Campbell song. Fun fact: my dad believed that we were related to Glenn Campbell when he was a kid because my grandfather told him that we were up until he was like an adult, and then said, "Sorry, I was kidding about that." That was an ongoing bit for all of that man's childhood.
Wow. I thought it was bad enough that my middle sister tortured me for a long time and said, "You're adopted." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And she would point to somebody coming into her. I said, "That's your dad." You know. So,
did you really have a sibling if you didn't try to convince them that they were adopted, or vice versa? Right? They didn't convince you were adopted.
Oh man, yeah. Good to,
well,
so if you guys wonder why I am as I am.
Again, that works very well because my brother and I have the same parents, but we are 9 years apart. So there's a very plausible argument for that for me.
Same.
It was easier for the much older siblings, right?
It was
harder for me to do. Also, considering if you've seen pictures of my brother, we look just alike. So
yeah,
it was a little harder for me to pull that one off.
Twins.
Harder for me to get to pull off a bit quite like that, but it would be quite the bit if South Carolina pulled off a win tonight against 38-0 UConn. Now, that's the best part about this game is the storylines going into it. There's so many places to start from when it comes to looking at this game. And the headline is clearly going to be, these are the last 2 national champions. These are 2 programs that have made up, 15 of the 43 national champions in the history of this event. this is a pretty historic matchup between two of the greatest coaches to ever do it and two of the best teams in the country with a spot or the spot in the national championship game on the line. Preston Thorne, I know you and Nick yesterday, talked about how this thing can go from Gamecock watch to Gamecock warning in terms of what they have to do. A lot of things have to go right in this game. I think that's the easiest thing to be said. But one thing that I can't help but start at, when I was sitting on the plane yesterday, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, what would be the most important thing defensively to stop UConn offensively? And my biggest thing is running them off the 3-point line. I think that's what the conclusion I came to, Preston Thorne, is if you can change the shot geography of this game and you can dictate where shots are coming from, then I like your chances at being able to pull off an upset. Even though UConn is an elite mid-range shooting team, you look at UConn throughout the season, a team that's averaging, over 87 points per game. They have shot 20 or fewer threes in a game 12 different times this year. And they go under the season average in 8 of those. That's 2/3. If you wanted to deduce that there into fractions. But 2/3 of the time, you hold them to 23s attempted and under. You do that is a pretty significant chance that you hold them to underneath their season average. And if you want to have a chance in this game, you can't be giving up 85 plus.
So, I always like the concept of a game being played to a score. What's the scoring range for South Carolina that we want to be in? Where would we like to see this game played?
Ooh, comfortably, I think you really want to have this thing played in the mid 60s, maybe, or low 70s, right? To me, we're talking, mid 60s and early 70s, kind of like the psychedelic rock era. That's the type of game that you really want here, mostly because when UConn's offense is that prolific, when it gets on the heater that it does, they're knocking down a lot of threes. This thing gets into the 80s. I think it's just going to be so hard to keep up with because their firepower truly is unmatched. I think that's kind of what makes them so good. It's what separates them. I think defensively, you can maybe get them a little bit because, quite frankly, they have not played a team like South Carolina that can get that many shots in the paint as they want. But it's still so hard if they're knocking down 13 or 14 threes in this game, which they certainly have the capability of doing. I think if you get this thing in play within the mid 60s, early 70s, then I like your chances of being able to pull it out.
See, you when you were saying that, I'm thinking about like a car metaphor, whereas like my old Camry is very solid from 60 to about 75. You start getting up to 80, 85, the wheels start wobbling a little bit. We're starting to get a little bit nervous here, right? Whereas maybe if somebody's driving a sports car out there, when you get to 85, that's when it really starts to drive. And so UConn in this metaphor is like, hey, if we can get up to 75, 85, 95, they're going to be cruising, whereas South Carolina's wheels might start shaking a little bit. But 60 to 65, we are smooth. That sound right?
Absolutely. And to discuss how easier said than done that is, they've only scored below 80 in 6 games this season.
Okay. All right. Now, is that going to be that? Now, with that being said, is this something that you just allow to happen naturally, or is this a case where you are deliberately mucking the game up, taking longer in possessions? Is that something that you want to do, or is that something that you want to evolve into?
I think that's got to be something that's just organic, just because we've seen so many times this year that this team is great when they get out in transition and they run. And sometimes when you get a lot of transition points, naturally that's going to up the amount of possessions that are played in the game. I think this is really kind of where this thing will be won and lost on the defensive end too. I think they'll be able to score well enough because last year you ran into a buzzsaw, but your offense also showed a capability of going 4 or 5 minutes, without scoring the basketball. You would go through a lot of streaks last year of just not scoring. I don't think you have that in you this year. And there is a little bit of a blueprint, right? North Carolina in the Sweet 16 showed, how to defend the 3-point line well enough against them. And UConn only made 4 of their 23-point attempts in that game. And that was UConn's lowest scoring total this year. And I don't think it is any coincidence that the best teams they've played this year, were the games that make up some of the 6 games in which they haven't broken 80 points. Southern Cal, Louisville, Michigan, Notre Dame, North Carolina. These last 2 games specifically for UConn have been their lowest scoring total. I think that's a good sign. I think you can get this thing to happen pretty organically, taking from what some of those teams have done. But coming up next, we'll revisit, of course, this game. We'll talk about it all morning long. But Shane Beamer was on the post-game show earlier this week. What did he discuss when it came to how he needs to help turn this thing around? What can he do differently? Shane was asked. He responded. We'll hear what he had to say next.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game. Shepherd's Glass for auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. It's the Game Network Traffic Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot? Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
No accidents to report. We don't appear to have any significant slowdowns either, so that is good news. And 81 is the high that we are looking for today. Maybe a scattered shower could pop up in the afternoon. Not a washout, just some showers are possible. And then for tomorrow, kind of much of the same. Later showers and later in the evening. And 83 for the high. A 78 with some afternoon or evening showers on Sunday. Right now, it's a little bit overcast and 62.
The Early Game. Yes! With former Gamecocks Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March. Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix. Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Yes, the Final Four is going on tonight. The baseball team got a big upset win over number 2 Texas. We'll continue talking about those things as the show rolls along. But while we're still practicing football in the spring, it will still be a topic of discussion. This football team is. Now, if you look at this team over the last couple of years, it's kind of been hard to predict, right? Going into 2023, you were predicted to be a top 3 team in the SEC East. You ended up going 5-7. Things happened. You miss out on a bowl game. So then the expectations for the next season in 2024 were not particularly high. However, Lenora Sellers turning into being one of the best kept secrets in college football. You win 9 games. You make it to the Citrus Bowl. And you have some exciting moments along the way, including one of the most historic, exciting football games against Clemson that this program's ever played. Which means going into the next season, that expectations would be sky high. And they were. And if you go back and just listen to shows from this time last year or throughout the summer of 2025, yeah, you would have thought that this team would be primed to be a top 15 team in the country, maybe even higher. And you go 4-8. So there's a little bit of a trend here, right? Now, when expectations are low going into a year, you outperform them. When expectations are high, you underperform them. Not ideal, right? If you're somebody like Shane Beamer, it might behoove you to look in the mirror, and he's been very transparent about the type of reflection that he's been having to take when it comes to looking at ways he can make this football team better, ways he can be better to be able to not have this up and down nature of this football program like we've seen from year to year the last few years. Well, earlier this week, so been on Wednesday, Shane Beamer was on the post-game show with Jay Phillips and Terry Ford, and he got pretty candid. This will be cut to Jen from yesterday's list. This is Shane Beamer talking about what he needs to do better going into this season.
Clearly, I didn't do a good enough job last season on or off the field because the season did not go the way we wanted. So I'm accountable for that as the head coach. And you look at everything that you're doing. So from a head coaching standpoint, it's tweaking a little bit of how we do practice in the springtime. How we've structured spring practice this year is different from previous years. That's a change where I, analyzed it and looked and said, this is where we need to be better. It's as a head coach saying, okay, how can I do a better job of developing leadership? And you've heard it, Terry, any program, any team, whether it be the Baltimore Ravens or a college football team. They talk about the great teams. They want to have great leadership, but they're very much player led. The Baltimore Ravens with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis back in the day, and the team we had in 2024, we had great leaders on that team. And I'm not saying that we didn't last season in 2025, but you're always looking at ways to, make the players more accountable to one another and develop that leadership. So that's something. And then, really trying to look at it. Okay, why did we not perform well in the fourth quarter of games last season? We had 8 games last year that we did not score a single point in the fourth quarter. 8 games where we in the fourth quarter didn't score a point. And in pretty much all 8 of those games, we went into the fourth quarter, we're in a dogfight and have a chance to finish. And for whatever reason, we didn't do a great job of finishing and performing well in the fourth quarter. So looking at how do we, and we've typically been a good fourth quarter team in my time here. So really looking at it, okay, how do we be better in the fourth quarter? All the things. It's more football related, but certainly off the field. And then you're always trying to grow.
I, for one, appreciate a lot of the candid nature of Shane Beamer. I will say, I mean, we can talk about results and things of that nature all day long, but that is what you heard was almost 2 minutes of accountability. And I can really appreciate that. And then when he's looking at, the specifics, giving the specifics of the answer, yeah, you have 8 games where you don't score in the fourth quarter. Mind you, they played 12 in a season. That's 2/3 of your season. You had no scores at all in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense as to how last season ended up going down the way it did. But also, that has been a big point of emphasis in this offseason. And I think that type of honest reflection and introspection is exactly what you need to be able to at least begin to address those type of issues.
We covered them all year. I was here. I was there for the season. I don't think I realized that was a thing. I know we weren't great. I know we lost a lot of games. I don't think I realized how dire fourth quarter points were so hard to come across. That was fascinating to me. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this is something I've been trying to say, and I think we get this confused, is that we just assume that leaders, it's kind of like leaders are born. He's just a born leader. And yes, they may be for somebody, but if we just only waited for leaders to be born, there would not be enough of them. We have to develop leaders, and that has to be part of the process for coaches on any team. You have to pick people out early in the process, people that you forecast are going to be those people, and pour into them and give them the skills and the tools of leadership. That's how it happens in every industry. Industry, you find people early, you pour into them, and you help them build their skills. And I think leadership, we have to stop looking at leadership as a talent, something that you're just born with. And I think it's more of a skill that you can develop.
Right. And we've talked so many times on this program about leadership styles and ways to be able to go about it. And a lot of that you do kind of learn through experience. But also, I mean, I'm sure you, like in your experience playing for Coach Holtz, had plenty of different ways given to you on how to be a leader. And, regardless of the type of leader you are, whether you are a rah-rah guy or whether you are a lead by example guy, the coaching staff, I can imagine, was probably pretty hands-on in that process.
We had a thing called the Tough 21. I think it was either the Tough 21 or the Tough 22. And it was essentially a group of guys that Coach Holtz and his staff had singled out, and they were going to be these different folks through different classes that exhibited some of these leadership traits. And you would have extra meetings with the coaches as kind of like, hey, you are going to be guys that we are looking to lead certain groups around, whether it was on, it might be guys that are on the scout team, or it might be guys that are on special teams, or dudes, whatever aspect. But it was definitely something that was a dedicated time, and it was something that things were spent on. It wasn't just left up to some of the more natural charismatic leaders, because I think that's what we think of as leadership. Mm-hmm. It's just the guy who has all the riz, as the kids would say. But that's not only leadership. Leadership can be developed, and it is a skill that coaches have to work on.
I think I'm today years old when I found out that Riz was a derivative of charisma. I think a light bulb just went on in my head, and I get it now. So I feel like I learned something this morning. Kind of the same way I learned that this offseason, maybe one of your best recruiting hotbeds could be Europe. Well, with the recruitment of Neff Jiwa and the rise of Justin Okoronkwo, there's one common denominator between those two fellas. And can we see more international flavor moving forward? We'll discuss that next here in the early game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 90.
certainly one of the more unexpected headlines of spring football this season so far has been the recruitment of Neff Jiwa, the former rugby player. According to his Twitter page, he is 6'8" tall, 300 pounds, and he has never played football, organized football, a day in his life. Rugby player coming from Ireland, now going to be playing offensive tackle with the Gamecocks. Certainly has been the most interesting story, Preston Thorne. But the way he got here maybe shouldn't be a surprise at all, because there's a connection here. And that would be with Brandon Collier. Brandon Collier from PPI Recruits is a recruiting service that is according to their Twitter account, the #1 recruiting database and placement program for international American football players. They find dudes outside of the country and bring them in, and they're able to get them scholarships, get them on college football teams, and ultimately help kind of further the profile of American football overseas. And this isn't the first time Brandon Collier has helped with a player. Now, Justin Okoronkwo came from Alabama, but before he was at Alabama, he was in Germany, right? And we've seen what type of year J.O. had this past year. There were a lot of bright spots there. So if this hits with Neff Jiwa, have we found something, Preston Thorne, that has tapped into maybe an untapped market when it comes to recruiting? We're seeing it in the college basketball game. Now, basketball is different, more of a global sport. But you look in the Final Four, the men's Final Four, you can look at Illinois' roster with the exception of like Keaton Wagler and Kylan Boswell. That team is straight out the Balkans, baby. There's some international flavor there. Is there a chance that maybe using the Brandon Collier connection can bring in more of these guys, and this is less of a one-off and more of a trend?
Yeah, so this is I mean, if I was teaching world geography, I'd just be talking about chain migration right now, because that's all this is. Because what happens is you get somebody, and this is a testament to Shane and the culture that they've created. Because if Justin Okoronkwo was here and he said, "Nah, I don't think this is the place you want to be," then Neff Jiwa wouldn't be here. And all it works is, somebody comes from another place, they get to the place where they're going, and they say, "Hey, man, it's pretty cool here. This might be something that you want to check out." And this is how this happens in real life. And now we're seeing it happen with in the football industry. And the same thing you said with the folks from Illinois is like, "Hey, man, this is a pretty cool place for us." Oh yeah. Also, if there's language issues, there might be somebody there to translate for you, or there might somebody be there to point you and say, "Hey, no, hey Neff, those are grits. I'm not sure if you know what they are. Let me walk you through this," right? It's very comforting to have somebody who's been through this whole process before. So, yeah, this could be the start of something interesting for Carolina. Yeah, everybody's always looking for an edge, Elijah, in recruiting. And if there's an untapped market, then you definitely go there.
And I feel like that's certainly the case. And looking at the work that PPI Recruits, does, and you just go to like their Twitter account, right? And it's pretty simple, at PPI Recruits. And you will see just 3 days ago, Brandon Collier tweeting, "Coaches are asking me who is next. Well, here's a 17-year-old, 6'6", 340 kid that will draw the same attention as Big Neff." And yeah, he posted a picture, and all of 6'6", all of 340, right? That is a very, very large man. It is pretty impressive. To see, and I'm curious. I would love to talk to Brandon Collier just to find out, where do you begin to look for these type of players, right? So with Neff, it was kind of hidden in plain sight on a rugby field. And how do you watch them and be like, "Oh, that guy could be a really good football player"? Like, it's such an interesting thing, and I'm really curious to see where it goes from here, right? Not just with how it benefits South Carolina, but with how maybe the sport has gotten a little more global. Clearly, we've seen the NFL's efforts to make it more globalized. Has that actually had an effect in terms of making those kids that are playing different sports overseas want to come to America and play football?
So yeah, I think that's the idea of the sport being globalized, because we've seen this. Obviously, we've seen this in baseball forever. Baseball's always been a part of the international market. There's always been a thing. Basketball has come along. I think was it Hustle? Wasn't this essentially about going to China and finding going to China and finding basketball players.
Adam Sandler was a 76ers scout trying to find the next best international prospect.
Exactly. That was a thing. What makes it so interesting is that football has been so exclusively American that there hasn't been an international presence in the game of football. But who are we to not think that there are not big, fast, violent people around the world? Of course there are. So let's go get them.
Right. They're there. You just got to go find them. And Brandon Collier and PPI Recruiting definitely doing that. Definitely taking, I guess, worth a pretty good deep dive. But coming up next, hour number 2 is next. We'll look at the coaching matchup. It's Don Staley versus Gino Auriemma in the Final Four in Phoenix tonight. That's all we need to know. We'll discuss that coming up next.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Pressing here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass can take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
No accidents to report. We don't have any significant slowdowns to make mention of right now. We are expecting maybe a couple pop-up showers possibly today. Sometime after noon is when we might see a chance for some scattered showers. Definitely not a washout. So overall should be a decent day. 81 for the high, 83 with some evening showers tomorrow. Evening showers on Sunday, a high of 78. Right now, though, It is 62, a little bit overcast on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. Back to sports. The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
Gives it off to Tessa, right wing three, bang! Three-pointer, Tessa Johnson.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix. Pack your bags.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
That's right. Hour number 2 of the early game from multiple locations starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell, live from Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to Daisy Miller and Forest Lake Travel. Look, she can get me out here. She can get you out here. I, for one, am an idiot. Hard to plan trips with me. Daisy Miller does the best, and that's why she is our main sponsor here at Forest Lake Travel when it comes to sending me to these awesome locations. And, of course, shout out to Griffin Pools and Spas, and we'll have more info on them and the deals that they have going on later in the show. Preston Thorne is at Charwood Golf Club, where he is sitting there. People are getting ready to come in. I'm seeing some folks move around behind him because we have our golf event today. The golf gun is there. And, you know, maybe we can talk somebody into Preston being the honorary driver to kick things off. And then, of course, Jen Jensen back at the home studios in downtown on Gervais Street, across the street from the beautiful state capitol. What a day we have. Not just because we're all in so many different locations, and not just because I had maybe the earliest start to my morning in my life. First time in my life, I can guarantee that I had no longer go off at 1:30 a.m. It is strange, feels foreign, and also feels weird to have. I'll be done by the with this show before the sun comes up here. It's a little strange with the time difference, but
Elijah, as I asked you when you were leaving, and I wanted to get firsthand experience, was it not weird to see your first cacti?
It was very weird. It was very weird. In the neighborhood that I'm staying in, or my friend lives, where he's right downtown. There's like in the front yard, there are a ton of cacti. It's wild. It truly is wild. And then you see nothing but like the big rocks around too, like very, very much desert land.
Yes. Here. And it to me, it looks like you were in an area that was burned up, you know, and that's all that's left. That to me, that it's pretty. It's just so different because we're used to green pretty much year round, you know, so it's such a stark contrast.
Yeah, it really is. It kind of is like, you know, you ever watched a movie or a TV show where there's like a scene that's taking place in Mexico and there's like a different film on the camera? That's kind of what it felt like when I walked off the plane and got picked up and was taken to where I'm staying. I'm looking around, I was like, wow, this is different. It's different. I like it so far. So far, you know, I've only been here for 10 hours or so, but 10 out of 10. It's great. Maybe had the best taco of my life yesterday. Not gonna lie.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Indulge. Eat all the guac, all the taco. Do it all. Get it all while you're there for sure.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, no shortage of that so far. But the reason I'm here though is because tonight we're in the house that Charles Barkley built, or insert any favorite Suns player here. UConn and South Carolina are setting up for battle. 38-0 UConn, defending national champ, the team that ended your season in the national championship game last year, taking on South Carolina and Don Staley. But anybody that's watching, not just folks that are in South Carolina that are Gamecock diehards, even the casual fan can watch this game and look at two of the best coaches to ever do it. Again, they have combined for 15 national titles. Don with 3, Gino with 12. Gino's been doing this for a long, long time, and that machine has been the most dominant program in the history of this sport. but those coaches carry so much weight when it comes to just their presence on the sideline. And when it comes to this year and these particular teams, I actually think that Dawn may have a little bit of an advantage. Mostly, Preston Thorne, it goes back to something we've talked about a lot throughout the course of the year, and that is South Carolina's chameleon nature, where we've discussed so many different ways in which they've won basketball games this year with different lineups because of some of the injury adversity they had to handle early on in the season. I think Dawn may be possessing an edge of versatility that maybe this UConn team doesn't have. If we're looking for any type of edge South Carolina can have, it's that they've been forced to have to win games different ways throughout the course of this season.
Yeah, they've been battle tested. We talked about that, battle tested, but not only battle tested, but the idea that not even if you don't even go through the season, just look at this tournament, whether it's Gotti, whether it's Tanaya, whether it's Joyce or Tessa early in the year or early in the tournament. This has been a team that has won in several different ways, and I think it develops organically, and they've been really good at figuring out who's got the hot hand, and Coach Staley has been very quick to make the adjustment and run the game plan through them. And so it makes it very difficult for a team to plan for some team that has so many different options. And so that is a little bit of a nightmare for a coach, not for Gino, but for those GAs that are doing the scout. It's a little bit of a nightmare because they have to bring him a lot of information. For sure. And if you're UConn and you're Gino Auriemma too, I mean, really your message to your team is just play your game, because when they play their game, then they're just better than everybody, right? When you shoot the way that they do, when you defend and cause turnovers the way they do, they play a style that when they're just on their game when it comes to shooting, they have a ceiling that nobody else in the sport has right now. There's not a team that shoots the way they do. I don't know how many teams in women's college basketball have 3 players that have attempted over 100 threes in the season and are making 40+%. I don't think that team exists in men's college basketball either, right? So if you combine the two Division I's between men's and women's college basketball, we're talking well over 720 some odd teams, and I don't think there's a single one outside of UConn women's basketball team that has 3 different players that have shot that many threes with that level of efficiency. That's how good they are, right? So they usually just play their game. And I think that's a luxury on its own, but at the same time, they're going to have to find a way not to, because they have not shot the ball particularly well in this tournament, right? You go and look at their last 2 tournament games against North Carolina in the Sweet 16, they were 4 of 20. Then you saw them against Notre Dame, 6 of 17, right? Again, they shoot a lot of threes in general, and there have only been about 12 games this year where they've shot 20 or fewer threes in those games, and 8 of those resulted in them scoring underneath their season average, right? So it's the percentages there, and the numbers would tell you that just running them off the free throw line or the 3-point line in terms of attempts can help give you a chance in this game. And if they don't shoot very well in limited attempts, then you see them having lower scoring totals. Again, the 2 lowest scoring total games they've had all season have been the last 2 games. 63 points against North Carolina, 70 against Notre Dame. This is a team that is averaging over 87 a game on the season. Well, Elijah, as you were talking, I had to go back and look at my notes because I knew she was good, but it wasn't until I looked at the statistics and she was named the Naismith Player of the Year. Why did y'all tell me that Sarah Strong was shooting 40% for the 3-point line? 40. What? 40% from the big, right? And she's got one of the highest block rates in the country too. Like, clearly, Sarah Strong, one of those unique players in the country. She's incredible, and so if you haven't watched a lot of UConn, you'll be able to find her pretty quickly. But the thing, and I'm not sure if I'm the first or whatever to make this comparison, but she kind of reminds me of Tim Duncan-esque in the way that it's not going to be very fancy looking. It's just going to be brutally efficient. And by the time you look up, she's going to have 20 and 10 and 5 blocks and 7, like, you'll be like, her? And you're going to look, because, remember when Tim Duncan was playing, he's like, you would never pick that guy out to be the killer on the court. And it's him. Right. And it's sort of the same thing it's sort of the same thing when I watch Sarah play. It's like, her, really? And she is a monster. So if you're just tuning in, maybe this is the first time you're catching UConn, when you find her, you'll find her very quickly, because you'll be able to notice the game running through her.
And then for South Carolina too, I think where there's a big edge here, not a big edge, it's a slight edge. I don't want to say big. I don't want to mischaracterize this, right? But your ability to be multiple on defense. We talk about that term in football a lot, being multiple, running different types of defenses, being able to give out different looks, right? Like that is a thing of high value, is being multiple in football. It is in basketball too. This team has the ability to go big with lineups. Now, mostly more tall, because there's a physicality drop off between, Medina Okot and Miriam Dowda, Alicia Tornabese. But Miriam and Alicia can play a little outside the basket too. Defensively, they can give you a different look. They've run some lineups this year that have been bigger, and it has been to a lot of success. They have gone into zone defense at times, much to the chagrin of one Dawn Staley. They have broken out some zone defenses. They are maybe more unpredictable on the defensive side of the ball this year as they've been in previous years. And I think having a couple of things in Dawn's back pocket kind of makes this matchup even more interesting, because they've had to do a lot of these things throughout the course of the year in terms of finding an identity, even when not all of your players were available to you at certain points of the year.
Will we see the zone broken out tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel decent about that. Maybe second quarter.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like a desperation thing, but I think you might see it just kind of randomly, right? I think this is one of the things. I know if I'm Dawn Staley, I'm throwing it out randomly. I don't want to have any rhyme or reason. I just kind of want to, 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, break that out and just see if you get a couple stops. And if you do, run it till they can prove they can score on it, right? If they score on it pretty well, then you can, retreat, go back to your normal man-to-man gap help type defense. But I certainly, if I'm Dawn Staley, I'm using it at some point tonight. I'm not going all 40 minutes in this basketball game without at least seeing if I can make them have to shoot tough threes or make them settle, or play your zone defense that aggressively runs them off the three-point line. Maybe you close out aggressively. Maybe you can funnel them into forcing 16, 17-foot jumpers. And yes, while UConn is really efficient at shooting those, I'll just play the generic math basketball game and say, I just want you to shoot more of those in general.
Another question for my own scouting purposes. She's, as we just talked about, she's amazing. She's, I think, hands down the best player in the country. But where would we prefer? What poison are we going to pick with Sarah?
The poison that we're going to pick with Sarah is, I would say, make her play incredibly physical. I want her, if she's going to beat you, I want her to try to score over Medina Okot, right? And what's funny is, I love taking books on flights. That's usually my favorite thing to do, like on a plane. So I was reading Basketball Beyond paper yesterday, and there was a study in there that's done that, contests at the rim, and this at least in the NBA, but I feel like this is probably applicable across all basketball. Contested shots at the rim, like the taller a player is by inches, can take up to like 3 to 4% off of a player's average scoring percentage around the basket. And the closer that defender is to the shooter when the ball is around the basket, the significantly, lower the field goal percentage gets, right? So if there's say Medina at 6'7" closes in on Sarah Strong, she's going to have a couple inches on her. Insert hand motion here. She'll have a couple inches on her if she's close. It's going to take away, if Sarah Strong's usually making that shot 60% of the time, can potentially make that only 53% of the time in this game. Whereas if it's a three-point shooter, closeouts on a three-point shooter, proximity only has about a 1 to 2 percentage point difference on the shooting percentage. So the conclusion was, three-point defense should be emphasized, but sometimes it's just luck, right? I don't want to live with luck. I want to live with, hey, if we're going to have Sarah Strong beat you, I want her to do it by shooting over Medina Okot. So if we're picking our poison with Sarah Strong, I want to do it to where there is a mathematical chance that instead of making 60% of her shots at the basket, she's making like 52. I could live with that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. I just needed an answer for what I'm looking for, because again, she's incredible, and it's not going to be a matter of can you stop her. It's going to be container.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you'd asked that question yesterday, I probably had a different answer. But I read that yesterday, and I kind of stopped and did the whole look up. I'm like, interesting. So how would that apply for the game tomorrow? And that's exactly how I think that probably applies the best. But coming up next, though, This is the 6th straight Final Four for Dawn Staley and this team. She's taken a lot of Gamecock teams to the Final Four. We're going to do a draft for the early game morning meeting, but it's on all-time Gamecock women's basketball players based off of how they played in the Final Four. That's next here in the early game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Visit CordellCordell.com.
1201 Main Street, Columbia. Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
The one and only Monster Jam. See the world's best drivers tear up the dirt in your favorite Monster Jam trucks, like Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, Sparkle Smash, and more. Only at Monster Jam. Save 25% on face value of a family 4-pack of tickets. Get your savings coupon from participating Texas Roadhouse locations. See coupon for details. Restrictions may apply. Coming to Colonial Life Arena April 18th and 19th.
Traffic moving along pretty well for your Friday morning. I assume, with it being Good Friday, maybe a little less traffic, and we'll accept that and take advantage of it. 81 will be your high today. Now, we could see some scattered showers today. A couple pop-ups could happen sometime after about 12 o'clock, but not a washout. Again, 81, that is the high we're looking for today. 83 with some afternoon or evening showers tomorrow. 78 with some afternoon showers on Sunday. Currently, a little bit overcast, and it's 62.
Radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March. Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix. Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
That's right. I am live from beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, where it is still very dark outside, but I am here with the help of my friends at Griffin Pools and Spas and Forest Lake Travel. In terms of Griffin Pools and Spas, there is a pretty big spring sale today. Everything retail, 10% off, BioGuard chemicals, Yeti coolers, Turtle Box speakers, Big Green Eggs, everything. You name it. Everything's on sale, and they're ready to get your pool spring ready. But because I am here for the Final Four, and we like to be festive when it comes to the morning meeting, I decided today would be a good day in which we draft teams based off of Gamecock performances in the Final Four. And that's how we're going to get the morning meeting started.
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yeah, well.
Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
It absolutely will. And Preston, my big board is in front of me right now, but you know what? I'll let you do the honors. Since you are in the town in which this team plays normally, and you got the Carolina hat on, I figured it is only appropriate that you get the first pick. You win the lottery here, right? The ping pong ball has bounced Preston Thorne's way. How is he going to take advantage of winning this Gamecock Final Four draft lottery?
Well, Elijah, we have some fireworks early in the draft. I would like to propose a trade for my first round pick for the next two. Are you willing to concede this notion?
Ooh, yeah. Okay, I'll take it. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be less Snead. Bleep those picks.
This is a little bit of game theory here, and you better make the right choice. So I'm going to trade my first pick for the next two. With that being said, Elijah, who are you going to pick?
Wow. This is the first ever trade during a morning meeting draft. Wow. How about that? Okay. Well, if you give me an opportunity to take Asia Wilson, I'm going to take Asia Wilson. Elite scorer, elite rebounder, one of the best defensive players that this game has ever seen too. The best player in the world, and she played like the best player in the world in that Final Four, doing a little bit of everything. Yeah, I'll take the all-time Gamecock for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. Like giving up two picks? No, I'm more Baltimore Ravens than I am Los Angeles Rams. But when you give me a chance to take Asia Wilson, I'm not going to turn it down.
I assumed that was going to be your pick. I hope you weren't going to make the biggest blunder in draft history by not picking the greatest player in the universe as it stands today. But with that being said, I have the next two picks. I'm going to attempt to neutralize Asia with Camila Cardoso.
Oh, high on my board. Very high on my board.
And then here's where it gets controversial. And this is going to be a tough one. I know what I'm supposed to do here, but I'm not going to do it. I am going to go with Zaya Cook.
Oh, that's a good one. So you got the guard play down.
Mm-hmm.
You got the guard play down. Now, what about Zaya did you like the most? I mean, it's high praise to take her third in a draft of all-time Gamecock performers in the Final Four. That's pretty high praise.
One of the things that I've been screaming for Tanaya to be this year is Zaya was a bucket. She was somebody that could get you points. She did it several times. As I was going back to look at this, in the 2 losses, unfortunately, she had her best game. She had a 25 against Stanford when they lost against them, and she had 24 against Iowa when we lost against them. So 2 of her best performances came in losses, but she was the offensive beacon of light in those games. So give me Zaya.
And in terms of Camila Cardoso too, if you remember that Final Four game against NC State's hanging around and keeping it close, and then Camila, they just said, and the offense was stalling out a little bit, and they just said, hey, how about we just give it to Camila Cardoso and let her score? And then she goes 10 of 12 from the field, and you end up cruising to an easy win in that semifinal game. But they don't that specific team, Preston Thorne, holds a special place in my heart, not just because it's the first national championship team I've ever covered in my career, or that it was just, the first Final Four I've ever gotten to cover in my career too. You'll always remember the first ones, but that team rolling through and going undefeated and winning games in the manner in which they did, especially for the revenge tour, I think is one of the coolest aspects of that team. You have Zaya Cook for your guard. I want to go true point guard here, and I want to go with a player who picked the pocket of the Naismith Award winning Caitlin Clark and helped turn that game on its head because of defense. Give me Raven Johnson.
Okay.
All-time
All
winner.
right. We took one off of my board. Now you have forced me into a position that because I do not want to get fired by my fans, I must select Aaliyah Boston here.
Now you are pairing Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardoso. Wise. If I have Asia Wilson, I would say that is very wise of you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, listen, man. I'm liking what I got going on right now. I'm not gonna lie.
See, you're gonna have size, but I'm gonna small ball you to death. Because you know what I'm also gonna do here. I want to go with one of the best 3-point shooting performances I've seen in the women's Final Four too. Give me Tessa Johnson. I need flamethrowers.
Ooh, okay. Tournament Tessa definitely made her debut.
I will small ball you to death.
Well, you think this is really fun. This just shows how great these teams have been, because I'm not going to let you small ball me to death, because I'm going to take the original, the founding member of the seatbelt gang, my favorite Gamecock women's basketball player ever, Bree Beal.
Oh, Bree Beal. Good call. Also,
we have to run you off that 3-point line. We are taking Bree Beal, the founding member of the seatbelt gang. Also, the mother of Little Seatbelt Gang from JC Horn. So, little seatbelt somewhere around.
That's right.
He's probably walking around now. So, Little Seatbelt Gang, what's up?
Oh man, yeah, little seatbelt game walking around somewhere, right? Oh, this is tough. You know what? Every Batman needs a good Robin. I don't know if there was a better Robin, complimentary Robin to a Batman than Alicia Gray was to Asia Wilson. If I got Asia Wilson, I'm going team chemistry here too. So give me Alicia Gray.
Okay.
So that means I have 4. You also have 4. How are you rounding out your lineup, Preston Thorne?
Well, you didn't do it. Because I do believe in defense and I have my bucket getter. Now I'm going to get her because you did not take her. Give me Bree Hall.
I was thinking I probably should have done that first. I think I might have made a mistake. All right. And I will round us out by going with another bucket. I got a lot of defense, but I also, you can never have enough buckets. Give me Destiny Henderson.
Nice call. I definitely had that. See, the weakness on my squad is because Zaya, while very good, I think she was better off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And now on my team, she's going to be forced to do a lot of the handling of the rock here. And she's going to be our primary scorer. But we'll see. I like what I got going on here.
Preston is starting a lineup with Zaya Cook, Bree Beal, Aaliyah Boston, Camilla Cardoso, and Bree Hall. I will be starting Asia Wilson, Alicia Gray, Destiny Henderson, Tessa Johnson, and Raven Johnson. I think it's pretty good matchup there.
Solid squads. A testament to how great this program is. I still have 3 very solid names on my big board.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still even had, Tina Pow on the big board too. She had some good shooting performances in that Final Four too. Hard to go wrong either way. But coming up next, we'll get to Joe on the AAA heating and air phone lines, and we'll revisit last night's incredible baseball win over the number 2 team in the country next.
6.9 The Game in Charleston, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
We have a new way for you to call the AAA heating and air phone lines. Just dial pound 250, and when prompted, punch in the keywords, the game. And that's it. Again, pound 250 with the keywords, the game.
Oh man, busy time of the year. And sometimes the most important things kind of get swept under the rug, or they get lost in the shuffle, put on the back burner. Insert any type of cliche here. And if tax issues are one of those things that, yeah, it's weighing you down, it's causing some stress, but you just haven't had time, I'm here to give you a cheat code, right? I love giving you cheat codes. The cheat code for those tax issues, my pals at the Ecton Law Firm, John Ecton and his team, have been providing local solutions to these local tax problems for thousands of families and businesses just like yours here in the great state of South Carolina. And it all starts with that free consultation. You just got to call 803-771-9800. That sets you up with John and his team at the Ecton Law Firm to talk through some of those issues and be able to get a strong starting point to get you one step closer to a worry-free life. Again, 803-771-9800, or you can always visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com.
By Credit Karma.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing. And for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
New Bluebell Brookie a la mode ice cream brings brownies and cookies together like never before. Big chunks of brownies, soft chocolate chip cookie pieces blended into a rich, creamy brown sugar ice cream. It's not too good to be true. It's just that good.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream available at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Inside with Chris Van Vliet.
Hey, I'm Chris Van Vliet.
Behind the scenes conversations with the biggest names in pro wrestling and beyond.
How did you know you weren't going to kill Hornswoggle with that move? I didn't. That fall was suicide.
I don't know how you survive.
Yeah, luck. And special live coverage of the biggest professional wrestling event of the year.
If you've ever wanted to know where the best place to watch WrestleMania is, right here. I've got a live show there, Insight Live, on the Thursday night.
Pro wrestling at its best.
Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Follow and listen on your favorite platform. See you there.
Hate paying for streaming? Well, the 107.5 The Game app is free. Yes, free. Just download the 107.5 The Game app. It's the Game Network Traffic Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot. Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
Bluff Road near Berea Street or Berea Road, there appears to be an accident kind of in the Gamecock Park area. That's Bluff Road near Berea Road. Also, I-77 southbound on the ramp to Leesburg Road. An accident has been reported. 81 with some scattered showers today. Might see just some pop-ups coming in sometime after 12. And then tomorrow, 83 with some afternoon or evening showers. 78 on Sunday with the same. Maybe some afternoon or evening showers. Right now, we are looking at overcast skies and 62.
The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
For the 6th year in a row, the South Carolina Gamecocks are dancing to the Final Four.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix. Pack your bag.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Before we get to the impressive 9-1 victory that the baseball team had over number 2 Texas, again, being the story of the college baseball world in a good way by pulling off the shocker of the night, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, 803-404-6100, the traditional way to call, or you can always call pound 250 and say the keywords, the game. That'll get you there the same way. Same destination, 2 different routes. But we'll go to our man Joe, who's on the AAA Heating and Air phone line on a Final Four Friday. Good morning, Joe. Welcome to the early game, my friend.
Hey, happy Friday, guys. Good morning, great morning. So I hear everybody talk about UConn, and I tip my hat to UConn. UConn is undefeated. I mean, they've proven to get the clout that they're getting thus far. But I also know about a point guard down here in South Carolina that's an All-American. I also know about a young lady by the name of Tanaya Latson, and she was a top scorer in the country last year. We also have a young lady by the name of Tournament Tessa. I think it's time for her to show up in the tournament. She hasn't put up the points that we normally see her. She hasn't performed up to par thus far in the tournament. She had a few points last game, but that big game is for her is hers for the taking tonight. We also have a young lady who's outscored Asia Woodson and Aaliyah Boston in her first 2 years as a ball player. And Akai has had more double-doubles than any player in the SEC this year, right?
Mm-hmm. That'd be correct.
There's a lot to be said about who we have on our squad as well, guys. I don't know how the refs are going to let them play tonight, but if it's a physical game, I like our chances. And I'm not sure how big they are as far, strong the tallest girl that they have.
So Sarah Williams is 6'4", and Jana L. Alfie, who comes off the bench, is 6'4" too. That's kind of really the two main bigs. L. Alfie only plays about a quarter of the minutes. Sarah Williams does get a little closer to half the minutes. So, and she's a traditional starter. So that's kind of where their size is on that roster.
Right. I think that we will do a good job on Fudd because our point guards are tenacious when it comes to playing good defense. We've made a lot of the guards this tournament look below average because TCU had that guard and she was tough, but we held her to, I think, 18 points. I'm not exactly sure what we held her to, but we held her under her average. We made her look less than what she does against anyone else. I think the key is strong, how we handle her. Guard her tough on the defensive side of the ball, and when she's playing defense, set picks and make it tough for her. So that when it comes to the third and fourth quarters, her legs are not as strong as they normally are against other teams. You know, guys, I look at the fact that we played 9 to 10 teams this year that have been in the top 10, top 15, compared to them playing about 3 or 4 teams that they didn't run into any real competition up until the tournament. I think we've been battle tested enough to play with these young ladies for 4 quarters. I just hope that we come out, you know, with aggression, you know, and not let them get ahead 10 to 2, 12 to 2, things like that. But I look forward to this game, man. Preston, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the CD, The Carnival by Wyclef Jean, but he had a song on there called "Anything Can Happen."
Say what? Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. That's right, Preston. That's right. And tonight, anything can happen. Go Gamecocks, man. You guys have a great day.
I love it. You too, Joe. Appreciate the call as always, my man. And Joe's got the pathway, and Joe's on to something too when it comes to maybe a way for South Carolina to win this game. Is if you try to find deficiencies in this UConn team, right? If you're trying to find something, one of those things is they're not an elite rebounding team. They're outside the top 70 in both offensive rebound percentage and defensive rebound percentage. If you are able to consistently grab offensive rebounds, if Medina's able to be aggressive and get offensive rebounds and putbacks, if Joyce is able to get offensive rebounds and putbacks, or at least offensive rebounds to give yourself another fresh 30 on the shot clock, then you can control this game the way that you want to, and that would be pretty conducive to winning. I think if you're looking just for pathways, it may not just be the size thing, because you do have a size advantage in this game, but also your better technique whenever it comes to actually rebounding and creating second chances. So I think Joe's on to something there, Preston.
He's really on to something, because Wyclef Jean's The Funeral is my favorite Fuji solo album. It's not the best Fuji solo album, but it is my favorite Fuji solo album. So yes, Joe is on to something. And about the basketball, Joe just did what Lou Holtz did. He just gave me the Lou Holtz speech. That's what Lou Holtz would do whenever we were getting to a big game. He's going to tell us about the other team. We're going to scout the other team. But by Friday, it's all about us. It's about what we have. And he's telling us, he's like, man, I know they're good, but look what we have around this room. And by the time you take stock of who's in the room, you're like, hold on a second. We got a chance to do this. We're going to do this because of the folks in the room. And I think Joe just laid out a really strong point about, yes, obviously they are good. They're great. But so are we. And we're going to bring what we got to this match. But yes, Elijah, Wyclef Jean, my favorite Fuji solo, not the best Fuji solo.
I was going to say, we are in agreement of what I think everybody should be in agreement, I guess, on what the best Fuji solo album is, right?
We can give you the best.
Yes.
But my favorite, Wyclef Jean, The Carnival, very underrated album.
Two different things. Even I would say The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is not just the best. It is also my favorite. That's also that's an island album for your boy here. That is an all-timer for me. We'll go back out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Got a couple of minutes here left, so we'll make it pretty quick. We'll get out to our pal Ray. Good morning, Ray. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, the game tonight, I think it's going to be about our defense. We have to lock them down. We can't allow them to come out and hit 2 or 3 quick three-pointers to get their game going.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to lock them down. And our bigs, they've got to understand they're bigger, they're taller, and they got to play their game, and they can't back down. They got to just relish this challenge. And if we play that lockdown defense, our bigs show up, this game's very winnable. That's all I got to say about that. And getting to the baseball program, since Monty Lee took over, I know our record's not good, but guys, the last guy coached, we got beat by like 20 runs, didn't we?
Yeah, right. 22-6.
You haven't seen that happen since Monty Lee took over, and they had a big win last night. If they can win this series, it shows you if they play their game, they belong in this conference. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from here on out. But I'm rooting hard for them. But at least Monty Lee has kind of stopped the bleeding that was happening. I mean getting just run ruled almost every other game. But
Yeah.
Big game for the Gamecocks tonight. I really think I do think there is a formula to win this thing. But thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely. Appreciate the call as always, Ray. And one thing I like about Ray is Ray pretty much said my T's for me, because last night South Carolina did beat the number 2 team in the country, and they have a big opportunity to take a series from the number 2 team in the country. What did Preston and I have to say about that game? We'll discuss coming up next to round out our number 2 of the early game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network. The Early Game. Yes! With former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
Gives it off to Tessa, right wing 3, bang! 3-pointer, Tessa Johnson.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix.
your bag.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres on the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
And we'll get more into that matchup to start hour number 3. And of course, my presence here in Phoenix, Arizona, brought to you by Forest Lake Travel and our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas. If you ever need any good advertisement, or I guess a testimonial to how good Daisy Miller is at her job at Forest Lake Travel, she got me here, right? She planned the entire trip, gave me the itinerary, just told her what I needed, when I needed to be here, and when I needed to be back home. She took care of it. Easy to work with. Love working with Daisy over at Forest Lake Travel. And we'll talk more about them later on too, because she did send me some extra stuff that she wants to share with you as well to make your next getaway a lot easier. But before we do that, I didn't expect to be talking about a baseball win this morning. But, you know, when you make news in the sport by beating the number 2 team like a drum 9-1, you kind of open it up to be talked about a little bit. And if you were watching last night's game, like, oh, that looks so much fun. It looks like so much fun to go to Founders Park and watch your favorite team beat up on the number 2 team in the country. Well, I got news for you. That's that you have a chance, an opportunity at hand here, because we have 2 family 4-packs of tickets, including parking giveaway. Wow, Parkaway.
Wow, you're just really efficient with the words.
Yeah, you know, I was like, you know what? So little time, so little word needed. But 2 family 4-packs, including Parkaway. Wow, I did it again. Parking for a giveaway for tonight's baseball game against Texas. That's at 7 p.m. at Founders. Just call 803-404-6100. And if you are callers 3 and 4, then you win those tickets. And you can watch South Carolina potentially win the series against number 2 Texas, because Preston Thorne, 9-1 is pretty emphatic, right? And if you do the things that you did last night and you do that against Texas, then you can do that against a bunch of other teams in the SEC too. Truly a highlight of the season to get 11 hits, only leave 3 runners on base, have a pitching staff, only use 3 pitchers, and strike out 12, only walk 3, and then get a monster night from somebody like Patrick Evans, who was 3 for 4 with a home run and a triple with 4 RBI. Yeah, I would say that is a highlight of your season right there.
Absolutely. Well, to this point, right? It's the highlight. It's the highlight of the season to this point, because maybe this is the start of something as far as the team is concerned. And you know, baseball's a funny sport like that, because a game in the middle of the season when you don't think things are going well could be the thing that strikes and turns the season around. As we say, technically, mathematically, all their goals are still in front of them, and you have to be starting to bang that drum, and you can look at this. But the biggest thing for me about last night is that, as you said earlier, it's proof of concept for what Monty is preaching. He laid out his pillars. The big inning, check. Free 90s, did not give them up, neither on the mound, and they had 0 errors. We kind of are still mysterious about what quality at bats are, but that Thomas LeCroy at bat in the bottom of the 7th, where he takes 2 deep and then eventually actually hits a home run, I think that satisfies the criteria as a quality at bat. And then the last one, winning 7 or more, scoring 7 or more runs, yeah, check, they did that. So I love that, because it demystifies what winning is. And now they can look and see, oh, yeah, we did all these things and we won. Now we have to replicate that.
And what makes me feel really good about this too, Preston, is that you only used 3 pitchers. Now you did, Alex Philpott did give you 3 innings last night out of the bullpen. I would like to see him again, at least in this series, to try to maybe close some things out. But the versatility you get when you on your, usually a Friday night, but it was Thursday this time, the versatility that you can get by only using 3 pitchers gives you so much more flexibility with your bullpen for the rest of the outing, right? And that is something to look forward to. Now, we need to see more from the bullpen consistently in terms of not giving up free 90s, doing a lot of the things at pitching that we talk about, but you have a lot more versatility. And what you saw from those guys last night too is awesome. Alex Valentin in a starting role. I mean, he gave you an opener inning, in the midweek, but last night he almost got you 4 full innings. And then to see Zach Russell come in and be able to get yourself out of some jams. To see Alex Philpott come in for a 3-inning save, right, where it's 9 up, 9 down, no hits given up, no walks, in a strikeout an inning. And some of those were swinging strikeouts too. I mean, his stuff was on. To me, the pitching staff was the highlight of this game, even though the batting order certainly gave you a lot to be excited about too.
Again, Texas is not going to lay down. You're going to have to play the rest of the series and see how it goes. But you might be on something with that opener, because yesterday me and Nick and I talked about how much emotion he pitches with, and maybe that's where you get to use that emotion early in the game and burn it off, and you can use that to your advantage instead of maybe a disadvantage later in the game. So maybe they're onto something with this.
That's also one of like the conventional baseball things I've always wanted, like challenged, because a lot of people have like some of the, maybe their most reliable pitcher to be the closer. Why not use them earlier in the game instead of waiting till you have to have a lead late in it? Always, this team could be an interesting case study of that. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. We will reset on tonight's South Carolina UConn game in the Final Four here in Phoenix. Is this game as simple as just changing the shot geography? We'll break it down next here on the early game.
No accidents to report. Don't really have any major slowdowns to report as well. And the forecast looking pretty decent. Might see a scattered shower pop up later today, sometime after 12. Just a chance, not a washout. 63 for the high, or I'm sorry, 63 for the high. No, it's 63 now. It's 81. That is the high we're looking for today. 83 tomorrow, 78 on Sunday. Tomorrow and Sunday, we're seeing some chances for afternoon or evening showers as well. As I mentioned, a little bit of patchy fog out there right now. 63 on 107.5 The Game.
This media station. The Early Game. With former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March. Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix. Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. I specifically am doing the show live from Phoenix, Arizona. Sun has yet to show itself. And I am here with the big help of my friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas, where they have a big spring sale today. Again, 10% off everything retail. BioGuard chemicals, Yeti coolers, Turtle Box speakers, Big Green Eggs, everything is on sale and they're ready to get your pool spring ready. So take advantage of that today over at Griffin Pools and Spas. And of course, Forest Lake Travel, Daisy Miller helping me. I've worked with her firsthand so frequently that I can tell you there's nobody that is better at getting the details and making sure you don't have to worry about the logistics because it's taken care of for you. As somebody who cannot balance a lot of things at once, and I get overwhelmed with travel details, Daisy Miller has helped me a ton. She can do the same thing for you because the ultimate luxury is peace of mind. But
are you an aisle seat or are you a window seat?
Aisle seat guy.
Daisy, she'll know.
Oh yeah. Oh, she puts me in an aisle seat every time. I'm an aisle seat every single time. And because you know why? I get to, if I'm looking, I look through the aisle. I like to stick my leg out there because, of course, tall man, long legs.
Man.
It does help alleviate some of the cramped feeling that I get on airplanes when I can just stick a leg out a little bit. Not too much. I don't completely obstruct the walkway, and I'm still pretty cognizant of who's coming in down the aisle. And I move accordingly, but it is, I guess, rather best way of saying this, a little more spacious. And Daisy knows that. And every single flight she has booked for me, I'm getting an aisle seat.
Outstanding. Preston, aisle or window?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I have the big man aspect of it. So I like the window because I can kind of lean up against the window and create a little bit more space. And I just don't being in the aisle with the stewardess or steward doing their job. I don't love them brushing up against my arm all the time. So that's why I kind of like to be in the window.
Yeah.
Fair rationale.
Yeah, that is. Preston, I would have to wrestle for the window seat because I'm the same. I can kind of lean over, do my thing. Yep.
Yeah. Just you just create a little bit of extra space against the window.
Yep.
So when Daisy hooks us up,
I don't need the leg space. I don't need the leg space like Elijah. So I get it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Kudos to Daisy for taking care of you.
Absolutely. So whenever she takes care of our next trip, when the early game, leaves state lines, you guys fight over the window seat. I will have the aisle, and there will be zero conflict whatsoever. So that was great news for me. I'm glad we established that right now. So when that time comes, I know I don't have to worry about having to fight Jen for the seat. So good luck, Preston. Good luck. It's going to be a fight tonight on the basketball floor, though, in the house that Steve Nash built. UConn and South Carolina playing for a trip to the national championship game. UConn undefeated, 38-0 this year. They're trying to pull off the 40-0 feat. They were playing a team they beat in the national title game last year. I've been on record by saying that I don't think that the 82-59 score is something we're going to see tonight. I don't think UConn scores 82. I don't think South Carolina scores 59 or less. I think we're going to meet in the middle somewhere. And where that that meet happens is going to decide this game. But the more I think about it, can this really come down to where UConn is getting their shots? Again, they're such a prolific three-point shooting team. Like, there are 3 players on this team that have over 100 3-point attempts, and they are making over 40% of them. AZ Fudd's at 45.5%. She's shot 253 of them. Sarah Strong with 146 attempts is right at 40%, and Ali Zabel is 41.1%, and she shot 141 of them. They will let it fly, and they can knock it down, and that's why they're the second best three-point shooting team in the country by percentage, and they shoot a fair amount of them. But is it as simple, Preston Thorne, as just changing the shot geography? Because I think that's going to be a big part of this game, is if you can maybe run them off the three-point line and get it to where they are settling for more mid-range jump shots, or just funneling them to your bigs, right? I think you have such a good, such a great rim protector in Medina Okot. Good shot blocker, great size. Making them maybe shoot harder shots from 2 may be better than shooting any shot from 3 in this game.
Yeah, well, you laid out the case earlier, because we talked about, I didn't realize Sarah Strong shot 40% from the three-point line.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty shocking to me. But with that being said, you laid out the case for making her shoot closer to the rim, which sounds sort of counterintuitive, but it might be the more productive thing for your defense. And that's what I'm, as you was laying out that case, that's probably what I'm looking towards as I watch the game tonight.
And if you just look at the numbers this year, the last 2 games that UConn has played against North Carolina in the Sweet 16, Notre Dame in the Elite 8, their 2 lowest scoring outputs on the season. And they attempted 23s or less in those games. They haven't had many games where they've attempted fewer than 23s. Those 2 are 2 of them. They were 4 for 20 against North Carolina, 6 of 17 against Notre Dame. I think maybe there is a little bit of a correlation there, that if you run them off the three-point line, you make them have to see bodies in the paint, and especially against teams that are going to have better size than the ones they face in the Big East on a regular basis. And it was even, I was telling the story about, me reading Basketball Beyond Paper on the flights over here. And there was, ironically enough, a chapter talking about, how, like, game planning. And part of that chapter was, how do you game plan, certain defenses against, certain offensive attacks. And there was a study, by Dean Oliver about how there's much more of an effect on field goal percentage when there's proximity between defender and shooter, much more so in the painted area than there is at the 3-point line. Proximity has a correlation of like 1 or 2% change in 3-point percentage. It's more like 7 or 8% change in the paint, right? Especially the taller that player is. And you have a player in Medina Okot who's about 6'7". Insert hand motion here. That certainly is going to help that math a little bit more. I look at this game and I'm thinking the most important thing maybe to run them off the 3-point line. If you can make them settle for mid-range jumpers, that's a big win. Second best thing is make them have to shoot in the paint over some of your bigs in this game. I think that is really, if we're going to win this thing on the defensive side of the ball, because they're not going to beat themselves with a lot of turnovers, that's a really good team. But if we are going to play the game where you're not forcing a ton of turnovers defensively, I think that's the blueprint here in this game.
So with that being said, looking at everything that you said, I keep coming back to this idea that you exposed me to, is the idea of the kill shot. Right?
Yes.
And I keep thinking about how that's going to be something that I'm looking for, because basketball's a game of runs, 2 good teams. Will we be able to prevent a kill shot from happening? And if we're on, like, say if we're on kill shot watch, can somebody get a bucket to stop them? And that'd be something that I'd be looking at.
Kind of like in the TCU game. They scored the first 6 points of the game in the Elite 8, and you were on kill shot watch, right? And to keep it from becoming kill shot warning, you got a big bucket from Tanaya Latson. You got a big bucket from Raven Johnson. And does it seem inconsequential when it's a double-digit win? It may seem inconsequential, but you've seen the difference between starting a game where you give up a few points, but then you're able to stop the bleeding, versus against Texas, where they kill shotted you within the first 3 minutes of the game and you're down 14-0. You played well and even the rest of the way, and it didn't matter because you got that, you got kill shotted. I'm going to make up that word today. Within the first few minutes of the game, it made a huge difference. And Evan Miyakawa, the guy who came up with, the term kill shot, which he defines as any run of 10-0 or more, was doing that study to look at, teams that have the best, or teams that produce the most of those, and try to find out, like a correlation of winning games, and find the teams in college basketball every year that have the most kill shots and don't give up as much, because it's common sense, right? Obviously, you go on big scoring runs, you don't give up big scoring runs, you're going to win basketball games, duh. But finding out the teams that are more prone to going on those are the ones that you can trust once you get to tournament time, right? The ones that can turn it on and have a little bit of a switch. UConn's certainly a team that has a lot of that in them. And I think they had the kill shot to end all kill shots in the second round against Syracuse, and they went on a 31-0 run. That's technically 3 kill shots in one. 3 for 1 isn't very profitable for any company to have as a deal, but UConn got that in that game. But South Carolina's good at generating those too.
I would say that Syracuse coach deserved it for her post game conference. She was her. Wait, I might be putting something together. Was her comment about not wanting to be in UConn's bracket, was that before or after the triple kill shot?
Oh, it was after. That's something you say after getting triple kill shotted. Those are the words of a scorned coach who just got triple kill shotted in the second quarter of a game and saw her team down 53-8 before halftime.
That's tough. Okay, now strategic question. Coach likes to let her teams play through difficulties. We saw how that worked out against Texas. If there was something similar to that, do you believe that she employs that same strategy, or does she call a timeout or whatever the case to stop it, maybe to stop the kill shot?
I think it's dependent on when it is in the game too. If it's early, she might kind of try to learn from that Texas game and say, okay, it's early on, let's settle everybody down. But if it maybe happens kind of like maybe the end of the first half, you can trust them to be able to play through, because then they've gotten into the flow of the game. They're just reaching a little bit of turbulence, right? And you should be able to preserve your timeouts in those situations. I'm one of those. I don't love burning a lot of timeouts early in halves. I like to be able to use them maybe a little bit later so I can manipulate possessions if I can. And I think Dawn's kind of the same way too. I don't think she wants to have to burn a timeout early. But I think if you do get in a situation where the first 3 possessions, UConn hits 3 tough 3-point shots, and it's like 9-0 or 9-2, calling that timeout and just kind of regrouping. I think once you get into the flow of the game, it might be a little easier to figure things out when you're not as shell-shocked by a run. So if we're going to see like a timeout because UConn is in kill shot watch and deep kill shot watch, then I think it's going to happen maybe earlier in a game or earlier in a half than later.
Well, and that's another part about this team having gone to 6 straight Final Fours, is that they understand the emotions of big games, both sides. So this is not going to be a surprise to either side, but it is a matter of, yes, you want to come out, yes, you want to play hard, but you've seen it, and if you've watched any amount of sports, you've seen teams come out and be so full of energy and excitement early in the game, but forget they have the rest of the game to play. I don't think that happens with either team, but that is a scenario that plays out a lot of times in these big games.
Yeah, a lot of energy burnout, right? You saw it on the men's side with Duke and UConn. I think there was energy burnout, and that UConn team had some players who have been there and done that. Alex Caravan specifically, a guy who has been there and done that. He's won 2 national championships with him. He's trying to get his 3rd in his career. You saw UConn on the flip side of it, the game before that on the men's side, when they played Michigan State in the Sweet 16, they got off to a big lead, gave up a large run, and Michigan State was never able to get a big lead after that, because Michigan State also exerted a lot of energy just trying to get back into that game. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Emotional preservation is a big part of things. But coming up next, I'm going to call an audible. It's the best part about sports talk radio, is that sometimes you may plan a show out, but something happens the night before that you absolutely have to talk about. And last night at Founders Park certainly fits the mold of something we have to continue talking about, because South Carolina did something I did not think they would do at any point this weekend. We'll tell you what that is coming up next here in the early game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence. Gamecock fans, Get ready for something new this season. Charleston now has a new station for Carolina sports talk. Dial in to 96.9 The Game on HD3. Head to 96.9 FM and on an HD radio, punch into HD Channel 3. You'll unleash live Carolina coverage you can listen to all day long. New on HD3. It's 96.9 The Game HD3, South Carolina's newest sports station.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Press it here for our friends at the men's clinic. Listen, you're feeling lethargic. You're not getting the results from the workouts that you used to get. Maybe you're feeling like you lost your edge. Well, you don't just have to live with it. You can reclaim your drive, your energy, and your focus at the men's clinic with Dr. Dan Boltnight, who's a respected local physician, and he'll get to the bottom of it. Yes, not a computer, not a screen, not an internet terminal. You'll actually get a chance to talk to a human being, and that human being, Dr. Dan Boltnight, will personally tailor your treatment based on your labs and your symptoms. The best part, your initial consultation with Dr. Boltnight is absolutely free. So get your T levels checked. You have nothing to lose and only your best self to gain. Don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can find them online at mensclinicsc.com.
Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot? Dial #250 and use keyword tow truck today.
to let you know about more of in the Elgin area, Highway 601 at I-20. So please be careful in that area. Forecast looking pretty nice. 81 for our high today. Just could see a chance for a pop-up shower sometime after about 12 o'clock today. 83 tomorrow with some afternoon or evening showers. 78 on Sunday. Much of the same with those afternoon or evening showers possible. 63, a little bit overcast right now.
Early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
For the 6th year in a row, the South Carolina Gamecocks are dancing to the Final Four.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix. Pack your bag.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Big shout out Griffin Pools and Spas. They've been with me the entire run, starting the end of the regular season, the SEC tournament, now all the way up here to Phoenix. Started with a journey that started in Greenville, now ends in Phoenix, Arizona. And today through Sunday, Griffin Pools is your HQ for family fun and outside enjoyment. They offer Latham fiberglass pools, Imperial vinyl pools, above ground pools, spas by Bullfrog, Marquee, Tropic Seas, and Generations and swim spas. Everything you could ask for, and free water testing. I like telling you about free stuff. Free water testing, all the things that you need to get your pool spring ready. And that's why Griffin Pools and Spas makes you feel good. I know it makes Gamecock fans feel good too. That is a 9-1 butt kicking of the number 2 team in the country at Founders Park. South Carolina wins dominantly over number 2 Texas, in part of the amount of hits they're able to generate. 11 hits on the night, only leaving 3 runners on base. So situational hitting significantly improved from what it's been throughout the season. And you have dudes like Patrick Evans step up, going 3 for 4 with a home run, a triple, 4 RBI, a home run from Talmadge LeCroy in the game, another big game from Will Craddock at the dish. You got a timely hit from Tyler Bach to bring in runs too. This was a great all-around performance from the bats in this game. And I think you can maybe look at a changing in the plate approach, or how you are approaching every single pitch in every single count, right? One of the best parts about baseball is the game within the game, and that's certainly a game within the game. This is Monty Lee last night talking about hunting pitches in the count.
It's really just been about we're hunting pitches. We call it hunt and shrink. That's basically what we call it. You know, we're trying to hunt pitches before 2 strikes and then shrink the zone down to like 1 pitch in 1 spot with 2 strikes. Because, I mean, let's just be honest, the Gamecocks tend to strike out some. So, and we strike out some because we tend to expand, you know, the strike zone entirely too much with 2 strikes. We're almost too defensive and just trying to put balls in play. I told him, I said, I'm tired of watching that. We're going to shrink the zone and be offensive in 2 strike counts. Just be offensive. Like, just be offensive all the time. When you walk up to the plate, you got a weapon in your hand. You know, aluminum bat is a weapon. So, like, be offensive all the time. Really just try to take the pressure of the guys, take the pressure out of it. Like, hey, we're going to strike out some, so be it. But, like, let's be offensive. Just kind of change the mindset of the players a little bit to be a little bit more confident and aggressive with their plans and with their approaches. And, you know, and look, it's worked for us so far. You know, we've got you know, a big game tomorrow and got to prepare and get ready for that one. We got to enjoy this win, but we also got to move on from it and get ready for tomorrow. But I'm super proud of the way that we played tonight, and hopefully we can continue to do it.
Hunt and shrink. That is the philosophy when it comes to the plate approach, and that makes a ton of sense, and it certainly helped them last night. The results were there against one of the best teams in America.
See, again, the same reason why I've said on here that I enjoy listening to Lamont talk about basketball. I enjoy listening to Monty talk about baseball, because I just felt like I learned something just in that quick soundbite talking about their philosophy and approach. And if you give I am a baseball player. I am a football player. I am a basketball player. I need something short, simple, that I can take with me up to the plate. Hunt and shrink. That fits the category. I know what that means. I know what I'm doing. That helps me execute very quickly, especially when you're playing against a dude. Was it Rojas? I think it was last name from last night. This dude is nasty. He's not going to give up 9 runs probably the rest of the season. You caught him on an off night. Cool. You don't want to go deep in the count with a dude who has stuff like that. So let's get him up. Let's try and get one early. And they did it.
Yeah, you ran Rojas out of the game in 3 innings. He only got Texas 3 innings of work. That is, and you got more out of your starter in terms of longevity in this game than he did. There's a chain reaction to that.
You know what it reminded me? I believe Skeens came here years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and they sort of ran him off the mound. And those are the type of things that you'll be telling your grandchildren, like, we scored 9 runs against Paul Skeens. You'll never believe it, but it happened. Same thing you'll probably be talking about with Rojas here years later. But that's the game of baseball. It can happen to anybody, and they caught him lacking last night.
And there's 2 elements to this too that are interesting. One, clearly the hunt and shrink strategy, right? Like the strategic part of this is definitely helpful. I think it's helpful instruction to the players. But then when it comes to kind of like a motivating factor, that's the second part that I'm so interested in. And it's the fact that he describes going up to the plate with having a weapon in your hand.
I like
right?
it.
That aluminum bat is a weapon. Being offensive, especially once you get to 2 strikes. And I think maybe you're just using the terminologies of hunting pitches, having a weapon in your hand. I think certainly has a good deal of motivating factor there too, but it also changes your mindset at the plate too. And you're not just, playing to save the count or to, just get on first. You got a weapon in your hand, man. You can rip that thing in the gap and get a double, or if you're Patrick Evans, a triple and a home run, or you're Talmadge Lecroy. Yeah, you might have fouled one that would have left the yard, but then you got that weapon in your hand, man. The next pitch you can easily send out to dead center and give my boy TK Sam, a free souvenir to go home with. And that's certainly what he did last night.
It's all about messaging, Elijah. That messaging in that soundbite is so much easier to digest. And I hate to go backwards, but from what we heard from Paul Maneri, we would hear wandering sort of ambient statements about how baseball is played. And I don't know what his messaging was in the locker room, but just what he was saying to the press, if it was even something like that, it's hard to follow. That was clear, concise, and I could see how a player could execute that a little bit easier than players need quick messaging. Hunt and shrink. Okay, I can do that.
And it's, especially when you're having a season like this team is having, when you're 1-8 in SEC play, you desperately needed a night like last night. And if you kind of shrink the season too, right? Like, yeah, we know what's happened this season. You go into last night thinking we shrank the season, right? Just pretend your season is 3 games long and it starts tonight, gives you a mental reset. And now you're able to take care of business in such a way that you have an opportunity for the next 2 games to be able to win a series against the best team in the SEC, a team that many people believe is the best team in the United States. Does it completely salvage your season? No. But is this something for guys who are looking to maybe come back next year and say, hey, look, we got better. We improved. We got better throughout the season. There is a proof of concept regardless of who is coaching. If some of those players are able to be retained and you had some growth at the end of the year, there's certainly a long-term benefit of having a win like you did last night. What you don't want, though, is to follow it up with 2 bad losses, because we had a similar situation last year where you beat LSU on Friday or on the first game of the series, LSU, one of the best teams in the country, and then you fall over and they beat you pretty good for the next 2. You got to be able to follow it up. Tonight's really important from that aspect.
To bring up Ray's point, we haven't seen much of that since Monty has taken over the team. They've lost, and they were on a 4-game losing streak. You don't want to do that, but you haven't seen the wild swings or the run rules or things of that nature. So I wonder if we could start to see a team that is more so coming to a center of how they're playing. You won't see those wild scores that we saw previously.
Certainly something to watch for as the weekend progresses. But coming up next, the third and long hour goes deep. This week, we've been talking about the art of the interim head coach. But now, for part 5, the coach in waiting. In a way, kind of an interim head coach, a different feel. Does tabbing someone to be the future head coach ever work? Well, there's one thing that makes it work, and there's also one reason why those things don't ever materialize. And Preston and I will discuss that coming up next here in the early game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network.
Highway 601 at I-20, still a slowdown there from an earlier accident, and the forecast, maybe a couple scattered showers popping up later this morning or in the afternoon. 81 for the high. Afternoon or evening showers tomorrow and Sunday. Definitely not a washout, but a daytime high tomorrow, 83, 78 for Sunday. Right now, a little bit of fog in across different areas of the Midlands. It is 63.
The early game. Yes! With former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March.
Gives it off to Tessa, right wing three, bang! Three-pointer, Tessa Johnson.
Elijah Campbell covering the USC women at the Final Four in Phoenix.
South Carolina is headed to Phoenix. Pack your bags.
Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas, Lexington, and Forest Lake Travel and Forest Acres. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Big shout out to Griffin Pools and Spas and Forest Lake Travel for bringing me here to Phoenix, Arizona, where I've been doing the show this morning, but it's the third and long hour. Now we're not in the home studios because Preston's over at Charwood. So we definitely have the crew on remote today. And of course, we get to winners. Charwood, always a winner for hosting this golf event every single year. But we're still going to go deep. And we have part 5 of the early game, third and long hour goes deep. The art of the interim head coach. This time, the coach in waiting, right? It may feel like an interim head coach when somebody's kind of tabbed publicly as the coach in waiting. There are scenarios in which this works out really well. There are also some scenarios in which it never materializes at all. And one of the most prominent examples that I can think of is Will Muschamp at Texas, maybe being tabbed the coach in waiting for Mac Brown. Guess who never became the head coach at Texas? Mike Hopkins was tabbed the coach in waiting at Syracuse for basketball when Jim Boeheim would ever eventually retire. Guess what never happened? Mike Hopkins never became the head basketball coach at Syracuse because Jim Boeheim decided not to retire. Those are kind of how that thing doesn't work. But also, John Shire was named the head coach in waiting for a year at Duke when Coach K was taking his victory lap. And it's worked out pretty well. Yeah, they've been in the news because they choked away a game in epic fashion that would have got them to a Final Four, and it's becoming a thing. But when you win over 80% of your games and you win conference titles and you're constantly a 1 seed in a position to make a Final Four every year, you would take that as a success. Anybody in the country would take that. And that was a guy who was, for a year, the coach in waiting. So my question to you, Preston Thorne, is we can first start off with how does maybe tabbing somebody as a coach in waiting change the dynamic of a locker room in terms of that coaching hierarchy?
Yeah, who do I listen to? Who's the actual coach? Who's going to be my coach? Let's say if I'm a freshman and Will Muschamp gets named the coach in waiting, do I really need to be listening to what old man Mac is talking about, or should I just be paying attention to Will because he's going to be my coach, or so I think? It automatically creates division because, and that's just in the players. Think about if you're on staff. Who am I need to be cozying up to? Do I need to be listening to Mac? Do I need to be listening to Will? Do I need to be listening to Jimbo, or do I need to be listening to Bobby Bowden, or whoever the case may be? So it just creates an automatic unnecessary division because even if we know these things, we don't have to name that as that spot. You were saying the scenarios when it worked, and I think I came up with two reasons why it works, but I'm really interested to hear what you think as to why it works and why it doesn't work.
I think the big thing why it doesn't work, it really actually both things I think revolve around messaging, right? Messaging is the big thing here. There's no confusion as to who you listen to, right? There's still a very clear hierarchy, but also not just messaging, a timeline, a clear timeline. With the Mac Brown and Jim Boeheim situations, it's kind of like whenever they decide to retire, when are they going to retire? Well, you don't know. So there's uncertainty. There's mixed messaging. There's uncertainty. and it doesn't end up materializing, nor does it end up being successful. Because you remember the teams that were in those spots weren't the most successful. There was some underachievement that was going on there too. And I think part of that is a disconnect between coaching staff and players because there's kind of a looming elephant in the room. I think the reason it worked at Duke so well, it was kind of from the get-go, hey, this is Coach K's last year. He's going to retire. Jon Scheyer will be the next head coach. This is his year to prepare and learn from Coach K, and then eventually take the reins and be the head coach himself. But also, I'm sure there was a lot of synergy when it came to head coach and coach in waiting, that they're going to have the exact same message. Even if they disagreed, they're going to have the exact same message to the players, same type of instruction, and no wires end up getting crossed. To me, that's got to be the number one thing that separates your successful examples and your non-successful examples.
I'll give you number 2. I think you just said number 1 is a clear, definitive timeline. This is not some on the horizon thing that we're just doing to keep them around, which is really what was happening, especially in the Will Muschamp case. But also the other factor that I think is really important, Elijah, that head coach in waiting needs to be named by the head coach.
Yes. Oh, that's a very good element. Yeah.
He can't be named by admin or the AD or somebody else, because, think about, and this is really, I guess, like the Jimbo and Bobby Bowden was the first time we really, really heard about this, or it's the one that I think about often, is that Bobby Bowden didn't have any say in this. He didn't want Jimbo to be the head coach. He didn't say he was going to retire. They just kept pushing this thing, and it just kept moving forward, and nobody was happy in that scenario except Jimbo, I guess. So, and think about Coach K with Jon Scheyer. Obviously, Coach K had other guys who could have been predecessors, and I'm sure it was tough for him to tell some of those other guys. I'm thinking like Tommy Amaker or some of those guys who maybe thought they were in line. Johnny Davis, I think maybe, maybe they were in line, but he made a decision, and they all fell in line with what it was. And I think those are the two things, having a clear timeline and also the head coach being part of the decision.
Yeah, kind of picking the successor, right? And then you're able to work better that way too. I think that's the thing. We've even seen instances in which, a head coach is hired and an assistant coach is retained, and maybe there's not a lot of synergy between the two coaches because that's not their guy. I think you can even look at the baseball example, right? How much, because we don't know, we're not in the meetings, but how much of a disconnect was there just between Paul and Monty from a organizational standpoint, like, and from a practicing philosophy, from just a way they approach the game? Because you could be a Hall of Fame head coach and then have another good coach on the staff or in the room, and there's going to be some disagreements. How deep are those disagreements? How fundamentally different were they as coaches? There are people that are good at their jobs that work with somebody else who's also good at their job, and you don't get good results because they just don't work well together, especially if they didn't choose to work together. There's probably a lot of that when it comes to, hey, this is going to be the coach in waiting, but we want him on the staff right now. That ends up being an element that oftentimes can get overlooked, even if the plan does seem clear and concise.
That was supposed, that the messaging was very clear. I thought when the Paul Mainieri hire was happening, he was going to be here for 2 years, and hopefully if things go well, when things went well, they were going to pass it on to Monty. That was the message, and I think the thing that everybody got on board with. Like you said, I don't think they took into account that, oh yeah, we don't know each other. This is a very much an arranged marriage, and we think it's going to work, and then we find out that it really did not work. And credit to both Paul and Monty for being professionals and not letting not airing the dirty laundry out in public, which I don't think they should. And we don't have a right to know why it or didn't work. Some people can ask. I think media should ask, but we don't have a right to know. But clearly it didn't work, and maybe we saw the fallout from that now.
And you see it fresh from the results too. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising at all if there just wasn't great chemistry between even the coaching staff, right? And if there's no great chemistry with the coaching staff, that is going to reflect in how the players ultimately play the game. And if there is a connection there, you use the examples of the ones that have succeeded, kind of like a Jon Scheyer. We'll see if the Allen Huss thing works for Creighton men's basketball, where he was sent last year after coaching High Point to the NCAA tournament. He was kind of the coach in waiting at Creighton under Greg McDermott. That ended up, it hasn't materialized yet. I think Greg McDermott is retiring. A lot of those reports have been around, and then it's an easy no coaching search. Just go ahead and elevate it. How clear was that at the beginning of all of this? I don't know, but they clearly have a connection there, and that connection still helps in terms of just making the ship run smoothly, even if it wasn't the greatest year for Creighton. A lot of winners to get to today between what's going on in Phoenix, what's going on at Charwood, at the golf event today at our Spring Golf Classic. We have a lot of winners to get to, and we'll try to squeeze them all into one tiny final segment here, brought to you by the Golden Spur, coming up next on the early game.
All my sports. The Game Network. Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. Can't do it. I want winners. Winners. Winners.
And every day we give you winners, brought to you by the Golden Spur. Oh, man. Got to start off today, then maybe our golden winner, golf, because we have the Spring Golf Classic at Charwood. That's where Preston's been hanging out today, is at the Spring Golf Classic, and they'll be teeing off here pretty soon. One of the reasons why it's a winner, too, completely sold out of spots. Popular event, fun every year.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Yeah, man, it's starting to pick up here. It's always great to see an event come to life, because when you show up here at 5:30 in the morning and no one's here, you wonder how it's going to turn out. It's like throwing a party. You hope everybody shows up to your party, and the people are here. They're out practicing their swings, and so folks are moving around. The onion sausages cooking. Everything's rolling. It's a good time.
Oh, I can almost smell it from 3 time zones away. And the golf gun.
and not to mention the golf gun.
The golf gun's still there. The golf gun, always a winner. In terms of winners from today's show, first, I'll start with, PPI recruits and our man Brandon Collier, working on trying to get him on the show later next week to talk about just the influx of talent that can potentially happen from, overseas to America. He's already helped bring Justin Okoronkwo to South Carolina. We saw what he did last year. He was responsible for our man Neff coming over to take all the visits in the States, and Neff ended up picking South Carolina, and that's where he is going to play to start his college career. It's maybe an untapped market, an untapped talent market is overseas in countries that traditionally aren't playing American football. It's an interesting new twist to the world of college football.
It is something that we hadn't really thought about, the idea that there may be some markets that we haven't seen as far as players are concerned. Again, other sports have been doing this forever. Other sports have been doing this, whether you're talking baseball, basketball, hockey, obviously, but this is our sport, American. So we're introducing folks to the sport of American football. I'm interested to see how far this goes.
Yeah, I am too. It's definitely a fun one there too. Another winner though, Preston. We wanted to bring this up earlier in the show, but
too much. The baseball team decided they want to win a game
against some of the best teams in the country. Yeah, it ended up becoming a bigger story than we thought it might have been coming into it. But Stephon Gilmore officially announced his retirement. Stephon Gilmore, always a winner on the show. One of my favorite all-time football players, not just Gamecocks or former Gamecocks or it's football in general. One of my favorite defensive backs in the NFL and in college has always been Stephon Gilmore. A couple of first team all-pro seasons, 5 Pro Bowls is the final tally. And you know what? I was on record, even back in 2019, I remember making a case that Stephon Gilmore could have been the NFL MVP.
We will definitely do a lot deeper dive onto Steph on Monday as the show concludes. Hopefully we'll be celebrating a national championship by that moment. But that being said, I tell this story all the time, Elijah. I coached against Stephon Gilmore in high school, and we literally did not tackle him. He was playing quarterback. I don't mean that figuratively. I don't mean that as a mean of expression. I mean literally did not tackle him.
It's one of those, the play ends when Stephon Gilmore wants the play to end. And if he did not want the play to end, he is going to go into the end zone.
Every play ended with either a touchdown or him running out of bounds.
Couldn't tackle him, which is just absolutely remarkable stuff. And those are one of those games too. You see a high school player do that, and you're like, yeah, you're gonna be a NFL player or a Hall of Famer one day. Like that's the type of stuff that Hall of Famers do in those type of games. And I have a pretty good feeling that we'll see Stephon Gilmore be enshrined as the second Gamecock to get in to Canton. Another winner too. Again, it's the thing that is best served cold. It is also a big storyline in tonight's game. That is revenge. And Joyce Edwards has a history with Sarah Strong. Same class. They played against each other a lot in high school. They played in the national championship game last year. Sarah Strong got the best of her. Joyce is having a phenomenal season right now and a phenomenal start to her Gamecock career. But tonight is a night where she can prove that she is every bit the best player in that class, like people consider Sarah Strong to be. Tonight's the opportunity to do that.
Again, one of the reasons we love being out amongst the people. We got a little tidbit, a little birdie from Camden dropped the dropped a little note by me and just said, hey, Joyce has this one circled for a long time because she's wanting to avenge some losses against Sarah way back in high school.
Oh, so do we get a 30-plus point Joyce Edwards performance tonight? I don't know. But I think I mean, clearly anybody's going to be motivated to play in the Final Four. Are we getting an extra motivated Joyce Edwards tonight? I think we are.
I'm sure she would never say it, but she's going to be ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, it's certainly in back of mind. And that's the thing too with Raven, Joyce, Tessa, Maddie McDaniel, all the players that were here on last year's team, know how it felt in that locker room in Tampa Bay after UConn dropped the hammer on them in the national title game. Tonight is a perfect opportunity to be able to right those wrongs. And of course, that game broadcasted here on 106.7 baseball game tonight on 107.5 The Game. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri, they're winners, and they're next from Charwood.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.